Once upon a time, in ancient Japan, during the era of the Great Dynasties, there lived two families who owned the biggest rice fields, and an emperor who wanted the finest rice in his palace.
The Takanas and the Nakamuras own the finest rice fields in the land. They both aspire to be the official rice of the realm. Send a messenger for shipment. I will try their rice.
The emperor's decision led to a great competition between the two families. Each year, they would send their finest rice to the court to be judged by the emperor and his advisors.
I think the Nakamura's rice is far superior to the Takanas.
And so, the rivalry between the Nakamura and Takana families began. It was all because of a simple competition over rice, but it went on for generations. Oh, hey there! I'm Ayumi Nakamura, and as you probably already guessed, I come from a long line of wealthy Nakamuras who hate the Takanas and blah blah blah. But really, I'm just your average high school student in love with making comics. Unfortunately, I am destined to take over my family's multi-billion rice company and stay ahead of the Takana's company. But here's the thing, I don't want to be a CEO, I want to be a comic artist. As you can imagine, my parents do not support this dream.
Is this supposed to be? Is this your father? Is this me?
No? Random people?
Do you think the Takana kid spends all day drawing silly things?
He would if he was smart.
Making fun of your mom and I? This is too much. You know what? I've been patient with you for years. You leave me no choice. I'm taking all of this nonsense away until you get serious again.
Despite my pleas, Mom and Dad seized all my books and sketches. I was so mad at them. The only thing they cared about was showing the Takanas they were better by always pitting me against their son, Tatsu. He was as arrogant as his parents, and mine. I remember this one time when I had to race against him and lost.
Come on, Ayumi, make us proud.
Tatsu! Show him what we're made of!
Ha! In your face.
Honestly, I wasn't as good as Tatsu at many things, and it embarrassed my parents a lot of times.
I still don't know why you can't win a single medal like the Takana kid.
I could if you just let me join a comic contest.
Oh, not this again. Ayumi, you're the heir to our company. Act like it.
As they talked to me, Tatsu and his parents approached us.
Could you move? We want to take a picture of my son with his trophies. We were here first.
Jealousy is such an ugly color. Jealous of those cheap trophies you probably paid for? Never.
They started squabbling like chickens, attracting a lot of attention. Tatsu and I were helpless as we tried to stop them until the principal intervened.
Please, that's enough. There are no winners or losers here. Both Ayumi and Tatsu are winners in their own right. Now, why don't we go into my office and we can talk about this?
Eventually, everyone left. As soon as I got home that evening, I rambled to my best friend, Maya. I can't believe you let them get away with ruining your life. I know, right? I wish I could do something about it. Why don't you then? The whole family rivalry thing is ridiculous. Shh, someone might hear us. Fine. Besides, Tatsu is hot. You two would make a cute couple. Do the whole enemies to lovers thing. You read too much romance. Tatsu is insufferable, just like all his ancestors. Maya loved to daydream about the characters she read in her love books. I wished she could face the reality that there was no way Tatsu and I would ever be friends, let alone anything more. The next day at school, I found students gathered around a bulletin board staring at a poster. Calling all aspiring comic book creators. STA brings to your school a comic strip competition for a chance to work with us. Submit your art to our email. You totally have to do this. I want to, but I don't want to get into trouble with my parents again. It's online. They don't have to know. I thought about what Maya said, and she was right. So, that night, I sent some old sketches on my phone gallery to the email address before sleeping off. And when I woke up the next morning, I got an email saying I'd won and screamed. Oh my god, I won!
We heard screaming. What's wrong?
I was so happy that I didn't even notice when Mom picked up my phone and read the email.
I can't believe you went behind our backs for this nonsense. Look at what our daughter is up to.
You aren't stepping out of this house, young lady.
I was so fed up by their restrictions. This was my happiest day, and I couldn't believe they were being so controlling. Why do you hate everything I love?
Because it's silly and you should use this time to study.
They were so annoying, but I was determined to show up at the show, and there was no way I was going to let them stop me. I tied some clothes together and flipped them over my window. I climbed down Rapunzel style and ran to the show. It was the best decision ever. I present this award to Ayumi Nakamura for the best comic in the contest. I finally got my trophy and I was so happy. People congratulated me in one wanted pictures. When I was finally free, I went out into the school field for some fresh air. But my happiness was short-lived when I found Tatsu talking about me.
Her trophy is nothing compared to all of mine. She's still a loser.
I got really mad and grabbed an open water hose next to my feet. Next thing you know, he was soaking wet. Oops, sorry. I thought you were a statue.
Well, I never expected a Nakamura to have any sense.
I sprayed him some more. Next thing I knew, we started fighting for the hose, splashing water everywhere and on everyone. We didn't even realize when Mrs. Sato walked up and we sprayed her as well.
A Nakamura and a Takana. Who else would I expect?
She started it.
Enough! Can't you two be in the same place without causing trouble?
I knew everyone in school was tired of our constant fighting, but honestly, it wasn't my fault. Tatsu was infuriating.
You've both ruined everyone's day and clothes. To the detention room!
After school, we spent the entire day in detention. As night fell, we were packing our bags when the school lights abruptly went out. We were in complete darkness. I tripped over a chair, and the next thing I knew, I was sitting in someone's lap. Then the power came back on.
Can't get enough of me, Nakamura?
Tatsu! I couldn't believe it. I quickly pushed off from him, but as I did, I noticed how strong his arms and legs were. No wonder he won so many trophies. I was so embarrassed. What? No, I didn't know you were there. Ugh, what a jerk! I grabbed my things and walked out. When I got home, my parents were really mad at me.
In one day, you've trashed the Nakamura name like it's nothing. This isn't how we raised you.
Gosh, did they ever rest?
Your mom and I have decided that a girls' boarding school is the best for you.
I don't want to go to boarding school.
You have no choice in the matter.
Well, if you take me there, I'll make sure I fail every subject, and I'll never brush or even have my bath. I'll doodle all over the school and wear red jeans.
Red jeans? Our daughter has gone mad!
I gave my parents a real scare, and they backed off for a while. It felt good to finally talk back to them. A few months later, Mrs. Sato informed us that we had a class trip coming up, and I couldn't wait. I'd already packed my bags days in advance. I just needed a break from my parents. On the day of the trip, I showed up at the bus stop excited. As I walked into the bus, there were no empty seats. Maya had saved none for me. Sorry, I have to sit with the student council as the president. I saved you a seat, though. It was next to Tatsu. I knew she was up to her old tricks, trying to get me and Tatsu together. I had no choice but to turn around and take the seat.
Jeez.
He scooted as far as possible for me, and I did the same. During the journey, we both dozed off. When the bus finally stopped, I woke up and found Tatsu and I had been sleeping against each other. We stared at ourselves in disgust and jumped out of our seats like our butts were on fire. Later, everyone started filing out of the bus, and Mrs. Sato made us dump all our gadgets into a bowl.
Don't worry, you'll get them back. If you need to reach your parents, you can use my phone. We can't really enjoy nature if we're staring into a tiny electric window, now can we?
And later, she led us to a clearing where we all set up our tents with her help. That afternoon, I was looking forward to exploring the forest and doing some nature sketches when Mrs. Sato received a phone call that she didn't look too happy about.
Everyone, gather round. I need to leave. My mother has had an emergency at the hospital. Maya and the rest of the student council will handle this trip until the school sends a replacement. Follow their lead.
With that, Mrs. Sato rushed out, and I felt really bad for her.
You heard, Mrs. Sato. We should gather some firewood and rest for today. Tomorrow, I'll let you know the schedule for the week.
Everyone followed Maya's instructions. I went into the tent we shared together to get some marshmallows from her backpack, but she walked in and snatched it away from me.
What do you think you're doing?
Relax, I just wanted to get some marshmallows.
You shouldn't go through my bag without telling me.
You go through my things. What are you hiding?
Nothing. Just stay away from the bag. It has important things.
Maya left with the bag, and I was so curious about what she was hiding from me. I thought I'd check after everyone had gone to bed that night. Sadly, I didn't let nature in on my plan. At midnight, a loud scream ripped through the tents, waking everyone up. We all rushed out to check what the matter was.
My friends are missing!
Maybe they went into the bushes to pee.
No! Something came and snatched them!
Everyone, grab your lights and spread out in a search.
We all grabbed our lights and went into the dark forest to find the missing students. Suddenly, we heard some rustling.
Who's there?
No one said anything, but we spotted something big and furry in the bushes.
It's a bear! Run!
Maya and I ran back to the campsite for our dear lives. When we got back, we discovered that some more students had gone missing, and everyone was saying they'd seen something.
It was huge, like a monster.
It was thin like a skeleton.
Nobody's stories matched, so Maya gathered everyone who remained to calm us down.
We have to stay beside each other till morning gets brighter. Then we can find a way out and get help.
Everyone huddled together for the night, but when I woke up the next morning, the campsite was empty. It was like they had all disappeared. Tatsu and I were the only ones left, and the fool was sleeping. I walked over and kicked him awake.
What happened?
Everyone's missing. That's what happened. We have to search for them.
Too risky. If the thing taking them takes us too, there'll be no one to save all of us.
I saw red and lashed out at him, even if I knew it wasn't fair, and he was actually making some sense.
All you can do is think about yourself in an emergency like this?
Jeez, fine. I'll follow you if that'll make you shut up.
Tatsu and I ventured into the forest on our own when we heard a creepy sound. Do you hear that?
What?
That sound. It's like someone's following us.
Don't be ridiculous.
Suddenly, a loud growl came behind us, and we turned around to find eyes glowing at us. Tatsu and I ran back to camp. What if that thing got our friends? We have to find them.
You're right. We shouldn't waste any more time here, or it'll get us too.
Tatsu and I gathered our bags and some food before we headed straight for the forest. We stayed really close to each other. On the way, we found some footprints in the soil and followed them. Unfortunately, I suddenly hit my leg against a large rock and tripped.
Hey, are you okay?
I think I sprained my ankle. To my shock, Tatsu lifted me in his arms and kept walking.
What? You'll slow me down if I let you walk.
My cheeks flushed as he walked for miles with me in his arms. I had no idea he was so strong and caring. When we arrived at a tree canopy, he gently placed me down.
We should rest for the day here and continue our search tomorrow.
I agreed with Tatsu, and when the sky went dark, he gathered some wood and built us a campfire. As I prepared to sleep, I felt something crawling up my leg and screamed. It was a scary wildcat. I ran behind Tatsu for protection, but to my surprise, he picked up the cat and stroked its back.
Aw, cutie. Did you lose your way?
What are you doing? That's a wild cat!
Nah, it's a cute stray. I'll name you Triss.
I didn't realize he was such a big softie. Maybe his parents let him do whatever he wanted and weren't like mine.
Your parents let you own cats.
They'd actually freak out if they saw me with one. They hate anything that isn't studying.
Just like mine. They seized all my comics because they weren't study books.
They're pretty terrible parents, huh?
Gosh, yes.
Tatsu and I laughed. We spent most of the night talking about our parents. It was really nice to know we shared a lot in common. That night, as he slept with Triss tucked under him, I had a sudden inspiration and got out my sketchbook to sketch them. The next day, Tatsu tucked Triss into his bag and we continued the search. When we reached a small stream, he offered to help me cross like a perfect gentleman.
You can jump. I'll catch you.
I jumped on Tatsu, and we fell to the grass with me on top of him. My sketch of him from the previous night fell out of my bag.
Wait a minute. That's me and Triss. You drew this?
Yeah.
Wow, you're really good. Can I keep it? Awesome. Thanks.
For a while, we just stared at each other. I realized how hot he looked, but when Triss mewed softly beside me, I quickly got embarrassed. We should get going.
You're right.
We dusted ourselves off and continued to follow the prints. Along the way, we found torn clothes and got really scared.
Oh my god, that might be their clothes.
No blood. We should keep walking. There might be further clues down there.
As we walked farther, we found a lodge. Right on cue, we heard laughter, only to find all our classmates inside, laughing and having the time of their lives. Right in the middle was Maya. I was furious.
I can't believe my best friend and my classmates pranked me.
As soon as everyone noticed us, they fell quiet.
I'm sorry, Ayumi. We just needed to get you and Tatsu to work together. Your rivalry was affecting everyone.
That's why you never wanted me to go through your backpack that night, huh?
The bear costume was in there. If you saw it, it'd ruin our plans.
Your plan?
You mean everyone wanted it, even Mrs. Sato. We planned it before the trip.
I looked around and noticed that everyone was staring at Tatsu and me as if we were villains. It made me feel so guilty. Thankfully, Triss ran right in the middle and their attention shifted to her.
Wow, where did you come from?
Sorry, that's Triss. Ayumi and I found her in the forest.
You're friends now?
Yeah. We're really sorry about everything.
I'm sorry too, Maya, and every one of you. Maya hugged me, and I hugged her back.
I knew I could never give up on you.
Everyone returned to the campsite, and we spent the entire night telling stories around the bonfire and laughing. On the last day of our trip, Mrs. Sato's replacement showed up, and our phones were given back to us. During the journey back, I sat next to Tatsu, and Triss rested softly on our thighs.
We should tell our parents we're friends.
He'll throw a fit.
They'll get over it. We can't let them dictate our lives any longer.
As soon as we got to the bus stop, Tatsu clasped my hand in his. I don't know if I'm ready to face them like this.
We'll face them together.
We walked out of the bus, hand in hand. When our parents saw us, they looked like they wanted to faint.
Why are you holding that girl's hand? And what's that creature behind you?
Honey, is he holding you hostage?
Gosh, they were so dramatic.
No, we're actually friends. Our family rivalry needs to end. It has damaged a lot of people over the years.
Our parents looked like they were going to combust.
Ayumi, your father and I taught you better.
No, you both taught me to lie about myself and destroyed the things I loved.
Son, come with me. We'll talk about this at home.
We're not going anywhere.
Tatsu and I stuck beside each other until our parents had no choice but to leave us.
They'll come around. You're an amazing person, by the way.
You too.
So, do you want to go on a date with me, Ayumi Nakamura?
I thought you'd never ask. You know, winning isn't everything. It's the bonds we form with others that really matter. Tatsu and I may have been born into rival families, but we won't let that define us or our future. And as for rice, well, it's better when shared with someone special.